Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to be creating a new tier list. This time, I'm going to be ranking all the maps in Dead by Daylight. Here is going to be, here's how this is going to work. So we got three tiers. We got Survivor Side. These are the maps that are heavily favored towards, survivors. We got Balance. This is, like, fair for both sides. Like, makes it so there's counterplay for both sides. And then we got Killer Sided. These are the maps that favor killers more, obviously. And I'm going to be grading the maps by a couple things. One, how strong the tiles are. Two, how many pallets and windows there are. So basically how many tiles there are on each map. And also three, the size of the map. How big is it? Can I be able to patrol the map and have easy access to all the generators? Generally, the maps are going to have more pallets, stronger tiles, they're big, and or just like have it maps that like with generators that are time consuming to get to. Those are going to generally be more survivor sided, whereas the opposite will be true for killer sided. So first up, it seems we've got Pale Rose. I will say Pale Rose is a survivor sided map, mainly because you got the main building, which is the Pale Rose. Very obnoxious to get to as well. There's quite the map is big. There's quite a few pallets with varying degrees of strength. And also, the big thing with this realm in general is the fact that the hatch is capable of spawning on the edges of the map. Unlike every other map in this game, whereas with the other maps, they would spawn more closer to the center. No, this, you could see the fucking, if you could see the barrier, it could literally be right next to that brick barrier that blocks off the rest of the void. It could literally be right there, and it can make it a pain in the ass to find. So that's gonna be a survivor side map. Next map, we got Crotus Pren Asylum. This is also gonna be a survivor side map. That's mainly due to two things. One, the main building is super survivor sided. There's a ton of safe pallets that you cannot mind game. There's a ton of god pallets. There is some very strong windows with breakable walls that you're forced to break, otherwise you cannot mind game those. And also, the main building, especially around the edges, has some garbage collision, making it so you end up getting caught on things you think you really shouldn't be. And it was also the fact that the map is really big as well, so high mobility killers are going to be more appealing for this map. Next up, we have Father Campbell's Chapel. I would say this one is also survivor sided, but not as survivor sided. If you asked me like before, I would say it's more balanced, but honestly, it's more of a survivor side map. It's relatively big. The chapel, while it does not have very many, there's only like one god window that you really can't mind game. But like The reason why this area is very strong is mainly because the generator is on the second floor, which you have to go up to in order to patrol it properly. And it gives survivors ample time to be able to get a head start before you go. Yeah, that's gonna be there. Next up we got some of the farm maps. This map, I would say, if you asked me before the rework, I would have said Survivor Site, but nowadays, I think, like, actually, I'm just gonna, now, I'm gonna say, like, this map is more balanced. It's the most Survivor-sided out of all the maps, but compared to what it was before, I would say it's more balanced. You know, the main building, it's not as bad as it was before. There's a pallet there, but there's a short sight, so you can mind game it. If you or I think there might be a breakable wall there actually. No, never mind. So, but still, it's not as bad. There is even a window there, but they created a doorway next to it, so you could just it's not as safe. It's also, I think it's been reduced in size as well, and there is a lot of, there's a lot of space in between the pallets, so it makes it kind of hard to chain together. Also, I don't think there's a meat tree on this map. I could be wrong. I don't think there's a meat tree. So correct. Actually, no, never mind. There is a meat tree. There is a meat tree tile. Yeah, never mind. I'm stupid. Ignore me. Yeah, okay, no. But still, I would say this map is more manageable. Next up, we got Ron Fields. I would say this map is definitely killer-sided. 100%. Mainly because most of the map is just cornfield and no pallets. All the tiles are on the outside of the map, with only one tile being on the inside of the map, that being the killer shack. So once you get rid of that shack pallet, that entire middle of the map basically just becomes one big dead zone. And that's super strong. When you have all the tiles on the outside of the map, it makes it really easy to down people, especially towards the center, once that shack pallet's gone. Next up, we got the Thompson House. I would say Thompson House is also fairly balanced. I think it's probably like the most balanced of all the cornfield maps. The main building, it's honestly not that bad. It can be very difficult to get to that gen, but for the most part, you can kind of just ignore that gen, as the large majority are of the gens are on the ground floor. The tiles, they are fairly spaced out. I think there's like only one or two tiles towards the center. Most of the tiles are around the outskirts of the map. So it makes it so you kind of have to avoid the center more. But it's not as bad as Ron Fields in terms of that, because there is at least like more tiles towards the center. But for the most part, that center is a huge dead zone if you use up the pallets there. But they still make up for it with it being a bit larger. So it's a bit harder to navigate if you're like a non-mobility character. So I'd say that makes up for it. I think this one's Torment Creek. I'd say this one's Survivor Side. And that's mainly due to the fact that it does not have the problem of like Ron Fields, Thompson House, or Rancid Abattoir. That was I think that's Rancid Abattoir, or was this Rancid Abattoir? I don't know. I don't remember the name of this map. But yeah. This this map, it does not have that problem of too much corn getting away of the spacing of the tiles. You have a god window here in the main building, where you have to break the breakable wall, otherwise it's literally a god window that you can't mind game. So, and there's also quite a few tiles, including a meat tree. So yeah, this would be more survivor side. This one, I would say, would this be survivor side or more balanced? I'll put it in balanced, but you can honestly go either way. Mainly due to the main building. The point of contention with this is the main building. There's a lot of metal fences inside that can be very difficult to navigate as killer. So it can be hard to like catch up to the survivor. It's not just one big open area with a generator in the center. No, it's like blocked off by, there's like a maze of fences in there with a couple of safe windows that you have to break with a breakable wall. So yeah, that I would say the rest of the map is just I could really care less. It's mainly the main building here that like makes it a little bit more survivor side, but because it's the rest of the map is fine, I just place it in balance. Alright, next up we are moving up to the Macmillan Estate realms. I'm not going to be covering any of the variations. So it's not going to be like Bad Am 1, Bad Am 2, Bad Am 3. I'm just going to treat them all as just one map. I'm going to treat all the variations as just one map. So that way there's no confusion. Ironworks of Misery, I would say that is definitely the fairly balanced. I would say this is probably the most balanced map in the entire game. Mainly due to the fact that, for the most part, all the tiles, you can mind game almost all the tiles in this game. Like, and the main building, the Ironworks, although it does have a safe window, if you break the breakable walls in that, this whole main building becomes much more tolerable to deal with. So that's why I would say this is more balanced. There's still like pallets that the survivors can chain between, but they're all at least mind gameable. You can play around them as like a normal killer. Alright, next up we have Shelter Woods. Before the rework of Shelter Woods, this would have been definitely a killer site map because of the giant tree that was in the center, making it one big dead zone in the center, plus the fact that there was no verticality to that map whatsoever. There was literally no verticality, making balanced landing completely useless. So, but now, since they reworked it, now it's definitely much more balanced. It's much more fair. You got, they replaced that big-ass tree in the center with, this whole, facility with a couple of pallets and whatnot. This map is much more fair now. So it's going to be going in the balance. Next up, I think, I don't remember what this map was called, but with this map, I would say this map is survivor-sided. The main building, it is very big, and it also has an area at the top with a safe window that you have to break with a breakable wall. Like, the main building's kind of obnoxious to navigate as a killer, mainly due to how big it is. and how much shit is in the way. The tiles is also a fairly large map, and although the tiles are not really that big of a deal, they can be very easily chained together, as I noticed. So that's gonna be a survivor side map. Next up, I believe, I forget what this map is called. Like, I'm not gonna remember the names of all the maps. This map, I would say, is... I would say this map is killer-sided. Mainly due to the fact that there is a fairly... although the map is, like, somewhat big, it has more of a choke point in the center. And on the main building side, there is a bit of a nasty 3-gen that you can kind of abuse. So if you just stay on one side of the map, they'll be forced to come to you. And because there's a little bit of a choke point towards the center, it basically funnels the survivors towards you. And once you get rid of like all like the pallets and whatnot, which you probably will if you're staying on this side of the map, it does make this area much more unsafe. So yeah, that's gonna be a killer side map. Next up, we got this one. This one I would say is most definitely survivor sided. The main building has a safe window that you have to break with the breakable wall, otherwise the survivors can easily abuse that. There's also a pallet somewhere in there as well. The tiles, they can be fairly easily chained together and are overall very strong. So yeah, this map is definitely a survivor side. Next up, we have this garage map. This one I would say is balanced. I would say this one's balanced. Mainly due to, I would say this map is balanced due to, Actually, no, I would say this is more survivor side, actually. Now that I'm really thinking about it, this is probably more survivor side. The main building, it has a god window that you have to make not a god window with the breakable wall. Other than that, there's no other pallets there. There is quite a few pallets that you can chain together. For the most part, they're mostly fairly strong for a survivor, although you can mind game those. It's mind gameable, but they are still fairly strong. And I think there's like a jungle gym or two in there as well. Oh yeah, I would say this one's survivor side. Gas Heaven, definitely survivor sided. 100%. With Gas Heaven, the main point of contention is that main building. There is a fucking god window in there with a breakable wall, a pallet that is also super strong, and another pallet in that little garage area that's also super strong, and there's also a pallet in the back that, although not strong, the fact that there's a third pallet all in this main building, like, is obnoxious to run around. And the fact that, like, there is also some pallets like off to the right of this map, and like it's just so I like to call Gas Haven, I like to nickname it as Pallet Heaven due to how obnoxious they are with the pallets on this map. Yeah, this map is definitely survivor side, 100%. This map, I would say this map is killer sided. I would say this map is killer sided due to the main building not particularly being strong. Yeah, there's a god window there, but other than that, that's it. You can just break it with the breakable wall, and there's nothing else, and the main building does not really chain to anywhere else. Because usually, the god window is on the opposite side of a loop. So, you can't really chain the main window to really anywhere else. The upstairs is also fairly pointless. There's nothing up there. And the pallets are just okay. Like, I don't really have any trouble with the pallets there as a killer. I would say this is more... And also the map is fairly small as well. So I would say this is more killer side. Next up, we have Azeroth's Resting Place. This map is definitely killer-sided, 100%. It's due to the main thing, as I was saying with this map. This map has a choke in the center. It's more ice-shaped. They did try and widen this with the rework, but unfortunately, that choke is still there. There's still a choke point where where survivors, if they get caught in that choke, they got like a tile or two in that choke, but once those tiles are gone, like, you're basically guaranteed to get spotted by the killer in that choke, making it very easy for the killer to catch people out there. You're only safe on the edges of the map where everything's at, and because of that choke in the center, it makes it a killer-sided map. Because it funnels survivors into the killer. Next up, we have... What the fuck is this map? What is that map? I can't tell. I'm just gonna say that one's balanced. I don't know what that map is. I don't know. Please, someone tell me in the comments what this map is. I don't know what this map is. I forget what this map is. I would say balanced, just to be on the safe side. Next up, we have Haddonfield. This map is definitely killer side after the rework. The main building, it's not very, used to be obnoxiously strong. Nowadays, not so much. There is, the god windows that are there, they removed the god window. They removed the strong window that's on the back porch. They also, made it so the window towards the front end is also less safe because they added a doorway on the side of the house. They also added 2 doorways at the top, so there's no windows at the top. The only window at the top is like the one in the corner of the little room, but because there's a doorway there, you could just go around and it's no longer a safe window. It's no longer a god window. Also, they overall made there's like more tiles at the edges, but the tiles in the middle of the map and the streets, they are less safe. And also, the tiles in the buildings, they are not nearly as strong as they were before. So this is most definitely a killer side map. Next up, we have Grim Pantry. This is a survivor side map. 110%. And that's mainly due to the fact that the main building, if you're playing a M1 killer or killer that does not have any kind of movement speed tool, it's basically an infinite. You have two obnoxiously strong. You have an obnoxiously strong window. You got on the other side 2 windows that are although not nearly as strong, but the fact that they're there, It just adds to the strength. And then at the bottom, you got a fuck ton of safe pallets. And it doesn't, and that's just the main building. There are a ton of strong tiles on this map. It's fairly large. And the main building is just overall super obnoxious to play around, to the point where most of the time when I play on this map, I just completely avoid this main building because it's so obnoxious to play around whenever you don't have any kind of tool in your kit to be able to deal with that. So hopefully, whenever they eventually rework the swamp maps, they make this main building not as strong. It's obnoxious. Next up, we have Mother's Dwelling. I would say Mother's Dwelling, it's still a survivor side map. It's still fairly large, even after it's cut down in size. There is a fuck ton of clutter that makes it obnoxious for ranged killers. There's a lot of clutter. There's also quite a few strong tiles. And the main building also has 2 strong windows. Like one one around here and one over there. And I think there's like at least 1 or 2 very strong pallets that are very difficult to mind game as well. Plus the fact that there's also a killer shack there as well. It's just, obnoxious. Next up, we have the Temple of Purgation. I would say this map is balanced. The main building, at the top, there's only like 1 window. And there's only like 1 strong window. And like 1 or 2 unsafe pallets down there. That it's not very big. And the tiles are just kind of eh. Like, most of the tiles you can mind game around. And it's just overall not that big of a deal at all. Also, there's barely any tiles around the back. There's only like 1 or 2 tiles at the back, and that's it. There's like not really anything. Next up, we have RPD. For some reason, it seems this tier list does not have East and West Wing, even though they have the multiple variations of Adam and the multiple variations of the fucking Macmillan maps. They still don't have fucking East Wing and West Wing. Well, fuck. What do I do? Okay, I got an idea. I'll use Ironworks of Misery 2 as West Wing, and we'll use this one as East Wing. So for West Wing, it would be survivor sided, mainly due to how many safe pallets there are on that side of the map. And there's also the fact that that side is obnoxious to navigate. And then for East Wing, I would say this is more balanced. Mainly because the tiles on that side of the map, they aren't as strong. They're not as strong. Oh wait, no, never mind. They do have 2. Okay. Never mind. I'm fucking stupid. Alright. There we go. West wing, east wing. There we go. Fucking hell. Alright, yeah, there we go. West wing, survivor side, east wing, balance. Alright, next up we have Badham. This one's immediately, no question, survivor side map. Here's why it's survivor side. The main building is obnoxious. You have one or two strong pallets there. You have this whole, actually no, you have one god pallet there, a strong tile at the top that, depending on where it's positioned, can also be a god pallet that you must break. And there's the fact that pretty much all the fucking, almost all the generators are in the buildings at the top floor, making them obnoxious to, patrol around. Meaning you have to go into every single little building in order to get to the gens. You have this fence at the front of the preschool that is that is safe for the vast majority of killers. You got a ton of tiles that chain with the main building, and it's just very obnoxious. And it's also obnoxiously big too. That doesn't even help much either. I'm not doing the other variations because all the other variations are the same story. So I'm just having Banner Preschool as survivor side. Assume the rest of the variations are the same way. Next up, we have the game. This map is survivor side also. Despite its only given strength for killers is that it's an indoor map. That's it. The bottom floor is a fucking maze, and can it be atrocious to navigate? And there's also one main thing that makes this map super, super strong for survivors. Safe pallets. Safe pallets everywhere. There was next to no fucking window loops at all. It's just mostly all safe pallets. Fucking everywhere. They're littered everywhere. There's a ton of fucking safe pallets that is basically impossible to mind game as a normal killer. Which is what makes this map survivor side. Next up, we have Larry's. This map is also survivor sided, but for the opposite reasons. Instead of there being a ton of safe pallets, there's a ton of windows. Windows everywhere. That makes it And there's also a couple of fucking god pallets that you can't mind game as well. With also some safe windows to go along with it. But there's just windows everywhere. And it's just obnoxious to play around due to how there's also a fucking infinite in this main torture room, if you know about it. So yeah, that doesn't help either. All right, next up we have the family residence. I would say the family residence would be I would say this map is fairly balanced. Although I am kind of leaning more towards killer side, but for the most part, I would say this map is balanced. Like, there are some windows and whatnot in the main building, but they are not really that bad. There's like one alright window. Other than that, that's really it. And then you got a couple of tiles around the sides, which are okay. Most of the tiles, they could be fairly easily mind-gamed. And although the map is kind of large, the tiles being somewhat unsafe is what makes it more balanced. Next up, we have Sanctum of Wrath, which I would say this map is a killer-sided map. I'd say this map is killer-sided due to this main building just being one giant hill with like only one safe window and then one unsafe window with a unsafe pallet or two around the sides. There's also the fact that there's quite a few gaps in some of the tiles, making them a bit difficult to chain together. And then, with the main building mostly being relatively unsafe, and it being a fairly small map, it makes this a more killer-sided map, in my opinion. Next up, we have Area Crows. I would say this map is survivor-sided. I say this map survivor-sided due to the main building, mostly. Due to the fact that there are fucking 2 god windows that if you don't break the breakable walls, they are literally unmind-gameable god windows. And also, what makes this separate from something like this map is that those god windows are capable of chaining to other loops. That's what makes this map more survivor-sided. Yeah. And also there's like a ton of decently strong tiles for you to play around as well. So yeah, this map is more survivor-sided. Next up we have Ormond. I would say Ormond is a survivor-sided map as well. The main building, there is a god palette and also a god window that you at the top as well. There is a weak palette down there. There's also a strong vault location behind the bar that can also be chained to other tiles. And the fact that you can, from the main building, you can literally go and chain to any other tile on the map from the main building alone. And I'd say that makes it survivor-sided. Next up, Garden of Joy. Survivor-sided. And it's one thing, and one thing only. The fucking main building, which they didn't address in its rework. With the main building, you have 2 god windows. And the biggest one is the fucking god window in the dining room. Like, what the fuck is that shit? How did the devs look at that shit and thought, oh, yeah, that's perfectly fine. Keep it in. That fucking window is what makes this entire fucking house a literal infinite. You have 2 fucking god palettes that you force to break. And you also have, that god window that you can use to literally chain to other tiles. There's a tile right outside that god window. So that window becomes a literal infinite if you know how to run it properly. So you're basically forced to not fucking chase around that house. And there's also a generator up top that's very difficult to defend because you have to go into the house all the way up the stairwell, which there's only one way upstairs. Go up the stairwell, go into this small room, and by the time you get there, the survivor's already vaulting through that god window that's up there. They're forcing you to slowly vault over, drop, and if they have balanced landing, you're never catching them. And there's also the fact that there's a greenhouse tile there that's fairly strong. There's also a couple of tiles there. It's also very strong. Also, the map is very big as well, making it obnoxious. Yeah, I would say Garnajoy is by far the most survivor-sided map in the entire fucking game. And that's all due to that main building. Next up, we have Borgo. Now, I would say Borgo, with its rework, I would say Borgo is more balanced. Like, you do have some strong god pellets that you can't really mind game, but they're not. But there's only like one or two in like the main building. The map is it's shrunk by quite a considerable amount, so it's easy to navigate. And there's not really as many strong tiles. Also, the fact that the map is no longer obnoxiously red, it also helps to make it much easier to see scratch marks now. That's also a bonus, which is what makes this balance. Next up, we have Dead Dog Saloon. I would say Dead Dog Saloon is a killer-sided. While the main building is really strong with 2 god windows, but the thing is that you can just straight up completely ignore that main building and you can end up winning games because everything else absolutely sucks. There's barely any good tiles outside of the main building. The main building is the only strong bit. Everything else you can easily mind game. Plus, the map is fairly small, making it easy to access all the generators because all the generators are all outside. And yeah, you have the Killer Shack. But what makes the Killer Shack completely irrelevant is that this is the only Killer Shack in the entire game that has a breakable wall next to that fucking window, making that completely unsafe. Yeah, killer-sided map. Next up, we have Midwich. This one is also going to be killer-sided. All the loops are going to be in the rooms. There's a couple of strong. There is a god window or two. Also, two or three like god pallets, but that's not what. But that doesn't make it survival-sided because of how small the map is. That's its biggest strength. That's what makes it killer-sided. It's an indoor map, and it's obnoxiously small. One of the smallest maps in the entire fucking game. Making it very, very easy to be everywhere. And also, this map has set door spawns on the opposite sides that if you go to the center of the map, you have line of sight on both of the fucking doors, making it very easy to be able to have easy access to both doors because you could see both of them. And you can reach both of them very quickly, making this killer-sided. Next up, we have Toba Landing. I would say Toba Landing is a survivor-sided map. I would say survivor-sided mainly due to the fact that the main building here can be fairly strong. It's also fairly big with a lot of clutter as well. And the tiles can be fairly strong and can be very easily chained together. There's also a very strong pallet underneath the main building as well. There's also a god window around the side with a god pallet next to it as well. And I would say that makes it a survivor side. Next up, we have the Nostromo wreckage. I would say this map, I would lean this more towards the survivor side. Like, it's in between balanced and survivor side, in my opinion. There is a unique feature with the traps where you can like slow the killer, but it's very hard to like make them work. There is a very strong pallet in the round table in the middle that is unmine gameable if you're running around the long side. There's also a god window off to the side as well. And also, the map can be fairly difficult to navigate due to that wreckage area. And also all the towers being able to, you could chain them together fairly easily. So that's what makes this survivor side. Next up we have Hawkins, which we finally got back. I would say this is a survivor side map, 100%. Although it's an indoor map, it's a fairly big indoor map. There is a ton of safe pallets. There's that window right there that you see, that is a god window right there, because you can't mind game it, because there is no short side. So you have to go, in order to get to the other side, you have to go all the way around into there in order to reach. And it just makes this obnoxious. There's also a pallet back there, but you can't, it's unsafe, so that's that. And because it's, the indoor map actually works to your disadvantage here, due to the fact of how many fucking rooms and how closed off all the generators are. Makes it very difficult to patrol all of them. And due to the fact of how big it is, this makes it survivor side. Next up, we have this map. I just call it the movie theater map. With this map, I would say this map is balanced, but you can make an argument that it's survivor side. You can make an argument for it being survivor side. And I'll explain why later. This map, it does, it's not very big. Well, it's sort of big. It's like more medium size. The movie theater itself has a generator up top that's kind of hard to patrol, where you can kind of just ignore the movie theater. What people will say this makes this survivor side is how many pallets there are, and I could definitely see how someone could like say this is survivor side. I could definitely see the argument there, but I'd say what leans this more into balance for me is how most of those pallets are very unsafe. Most of those pallets can be very easily mind gamed. And yeah, you have two pallets next to one another, but both of them are unsafe. They only made it that it's only strong when you have both pallets. Once one of those pallets are gone, it becomes very unsafe, as there is no long side for any of those pallets. It's just two unsafe pallets put next to each other. And I would say this is what makes it balanced. Finally, we have this map. We have the newest map of the newest Borgo map. I would say this map is I would say this map is killer side under one specific circumstance. Is if you go downstairs through the into the main building, you will lose most definitely, because it is super obnoxious to patrol the 3 gens that are down there. Because one, there is an obnoxious the basement area is obnoxiously safe with a bunch of god windows and god pallets. The fact that there are multiple ways out, but only really one way in, and that's through the main building. There's also the fact that because it's so hard to access the basement area, because you have to go all the way to the main building and either go through the portal or go all the way downstairs and then go to the fucking generator that you want. It's gonna waste way too much time. However, what makes this killer site is the upstairs part, which is the majority of the map, as the upstairs is filled to the brim with unsafe tiles. That if you just defend the 4 generators that are up there, there is absolutely nothing the survivors can really do about it. As the upstairs is very unsafe with a bunch of unsafe tiles that you can just easily go around and have access to both sides. Yeah, and that's what I would say is definitely very killer sided. And yeah, this is my tiered list for what I think of all the maps on this tier list. So if you like this video, yeah, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone.